What began as a harmless dare on a carefree night takes an unexpected turn when a young woman kisses a quiet stranger, unaware he is the alpha king hiding among humans. The kiss awakens an ancient bond neither of them can ignore, pulling her into a hidden world of power, loyalty, and dangerous enemies. As secrets unravel and the alpha king's true identity is revealed, she must choose between returning to her ordinary life or embracing the fate the dare unknowingly sealed. Hello, my beautiful pack. How are you all doing today? I am so excited to share this story with you. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next in this journey. This story is going to take you on a wild ride, and I need you here for every twist and turn. Now, let's begin. The bass thundered through Myra's chest as she laughed, the sound swallowed by the pulsing music of the downtown club. Neon lights painted her friends' faces in shades of electric blue and hot pink, and the air tasted like freedom, like possibility, like the reckless kind of night that made Monday mornings feel like they belonged to someone else entirely. "I dare you," Chelsea shouted over the music, her eyes glittering with mischief and one too many cocktails. She pointed across the crowded dance floor to the bar, where a man sat alone, impossibly still amid the chaos. Mira followed her friend's finger, and her breath caught. He didn't belong here. That was her first thought. The stranger sat with his back to the bar, nursing what looked like whiskey neat. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and even from this distance, Mira could see the sharp cut of his jaw, the broad set of his shoulders beneath a simple black shirt that probably cost more than her rent. But it wasn't his looks that made her skin prickle with awareness. It was the way everyone seemed to orbit around him without getting too close. Like planets around a sun. Like prey circling a predator they instinctively knew to avoid. "Kiss him," Chelsea giggled, gripping Myra's arm. "I dare you to walk over there and kiss that gorgeous mystery man." "You're insane," Mira protested, but her heart was already racing, and it had nothing to do with the alcohol warming her veins. "You never back down from a dare," Mira Torres, her other friend, Jenna, chimed in, a knowing smile on her lips. "What happened to the girl who jumped off the bridge into the river last summer? Who sneaked into that exclusive rooftop party? Where's that fire?" The challenge ignited something in Myra's chest. They were right. She'd built her reputation on being fearless, on saying yes when everyone else said no. This was just a kiss. A harmless, spontaneous kiss with a handsome stranger. What was the worst that could happen? She downed the rest of her cosmopolitan, the sweetness coating her tongue, and stood. Her friends erupted in cheers and whistles, but the sound faded as Mira locked eyes on her target. Each step toward him felt strange. The air grew thicker, heavier, charged with something Mira couldn't name. Her skin tingled. The hair on the back of her neck rose. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, to go back to her friends, to choose literally anyone else in this packed club. But Mira Torres didn't back down. She was 5 feet away when he turned his head. Their eyes met, and the world stopped. His eyes were amber. Not brown, not hazel, but pure molten amber that seemed to glow in the club's dim lighting. They pierced through her, stripping away every defense, every pretense, seeing straight into her soul. His nostrils flared slightly, and something flickered across his face. Surprise? Recognition? Hunger? Myra's steps faltered, but she was too close now. Too committed. "Hi," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm Mira." He didn't respond. Didn't smile. Didn't move. Just watched her with those impossible eyes, his expression unreadable but intense, so intense it made her bones ache. The smart thing would be to walk away. Laugh it off. Tell her friends the guy was too weird, too intense, too much. Instead, Mira stepped between his legs. His sharp inhale was barely audible over the music, but she heard it. Felt it. The stranger's hands remained on the bar, but every muscle in his body had gone rigid, coiled like a spring ready to snap. "This is crazy," Mira whispered, more to herself than to him. "But I was dared to kiss you, and I never back down from a dare. Don't." The single word came out rough, almost desperate. His accent was refined, European maybe, but there was something else beneath it. Something ancient. "You don't know what you're doing." "It's just a kiss," Mira said, and before her courage could desert her, before the warning in his eyes could stop her, she leaned in and pressed her lips to his. The world exploded. Heat erupted from the point of contact, searing through Myra's body like liquid fire. Her gasp parted her lips, and the stranger took the invitation, his mouth claiming hers with a possessiveness that should have terrified her but instead ignited every nerve ending she possessed. His hand came up to cup the back of her head, fingers threading through her dark hair, and Myra's knees went weak. She'd been kissed before. She'd had boyfriends, flings, late-night mistakes. But this was different. This was primal. Consuming. Like coming home and being set ablaze at the same time. Images flashed behind her closed eyes. A full moon. Silver eyes watching from the darkness. Running through a forest, powerful and free. The taste of pine and earth and wild things. Then he pulled away and Mira stumbled backward, gasping. The stranger was on his feet, towering over her. His eyes had gone completely silver, glowing like twin moons, and when he spoke, his voice resonated with power that made the glasses on the bar rattle. "What have you done?" Before Mira could respond, before she could process the impossibility of what she'd just seen, a man appeared at the stranger's side. He was massive, easily 6.5 feet tall, with a scarred face and eyes that held the same predatory gleam. "Your Majesty," the newcomer said urgently, and Myra's mind stuttered over the word. "Majesty? We need to leave. Now." They felt it. The bond. "They're coming." The stranger, this supposed majesty, never took his eyes off Mira. His expression was a war between fury and something that looked dangerously close to awe. "Too late," he said quietly. "It's done." "What's done?" Mira demanded, finding her voice even as her hands shook. "What's happening?" "Your eyes, You awakened a bond that was supposed to stay dormant," he interrupted, stepping closer. The crowd parted around him without seeming to realize they were doing it. "You kissed an alpha king, little human. And now, whether you want it or not, you're mine." The club's music seemed distant now, muffled. Myra's heart pounded against her ribs. "That's not possible. You're just a man. A strange, intense man, but..." A howl split the night air outside, so close it rattled the club's windows. Then another. And another. A chorus of inhuman sounds that made everyone in the club freeze, their primal instincts recognizing a threat even if their conscious minds refused to accept it. The stranger's jaw clenched. "My name is Kieran Valiente, and I am the Alpha King of the Northern Pax." His eyes, still glowing silver, bore into hers. "And you just became the most valuable, most endangered person in the supernatural world." "The what world?" Mira whispered. Another howl, closer this time. Through the club's windows, Mira saw shadows moving in the alley across the street. Large shadows. Too large to be dogs. Kieran grabbed her hand, and electricity shot up her arm at the contact. "Run now, questions later. Unless you want to meet the wolves who'd kill to possess an Alpha King's mate." "Mate?" But there was no time to process, no time to argue, because the club's front door exploded inward and the screaming began. "What do you think, my beautiful pack? Should Mira run with this mysterious Alpha King? What has she gotten herself into? Let me know your thoughts in the comments." Myra's world became a blur of motion and chaos. Kieran's hand locked around her wrist, iron-strong yet careful not to bruise, and he pulled her toward the back of the club. The massive scarred man, his bodyguard or whatever he was, moved ahead of them, shoving panicked clubgoers aside with inhuman ease. "Move," the scarred man barked, his voice cutting through the screams. Myra's legs burned as she struggled to keep up with Kieran's long strides. Behind them, the sounds of destruction grew louder. Growls, snarls, the crash of furniture being overturned. She risked a glance backward and immediately wished she hadn't. They weren't dogs. The creatures pouring through the shattered entrance were massive, easily the size of small bears, with fur that ranged from midnight black to silver gray. Their eyes glowed yellow in the strobing club lights, and their lips peeled back to reveal teeth that belonged in nightmares. Wolves. Actual wolves. In downtown Seattle. "This isn't real," Mira gasped, her mind fracturing around the impossibility. "This can't be real." "Keep moving," Kieran commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. He kicked open an emergency exit, and cold night air slapped Myra's face. They burst into an alley filled with dumpsters and the smell of rotting food. A sleek black SUV screeched around the corner, tires smoking. The scarred man yanked open the back door. "In." "Now," Kieran ordered, practically lifting Mira into the vehicle before sliding in beside her. The scarred man took the front passenger seat, and the driver, a stern-looking woman with cropped blonde hair, hit the gas before the doors were fully closed. The SUV rocketed forward, throwing Mira against Kieran's solid chest. His arm came around her automatically, steadying her, and that same electric current from their kiss raced across her skin. She jerked away, pressing herself against the opposite door, her chest heaving. Explanation, Mira demanded, hating how her voice shook. Right now, or I'm jumping out of this car. Kieran's amber eyes, returned to their normal color, but still unnervingly intense, studied her. You'd break both legs with the speed we're traveling. Try me. A ghost of a smile touched his lips, there and gone in an instant. You have fire. Good. You'll need it. Kieran, the scarred man, warned from the front seat. For vehicles in pursuit. They're gaining. The driver, without a word, took a sharp turn that had Mira sliding across the leather seat. Her stomach lurched as the SUV jumped a curb, cut through a park, and emerged onto a highway on-ramp. My name is Mira Torres, she said, gripping the door handle until her knuckles went white. She needed to ground herself, to hold on to something real. I'm 24 years old. I work as a graphic designer at Morrison & Lee. I live in a tiny apartment in Capitol Hill with my cat, Pixel. I do not believe in fairy tales or monsters or werewolves. Kieran supplied quietly. Myra's laugh came out brittle, broken. Especially not werewolves. And yet you saw them with your own eyes. She had. God help her, she had. Mira pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to stop the world from spinning. This is insane. I'm having a psychotic break. Someone spiked my drink. That's the only explanation. Look at me, Kieran said, his voice dropping to a tone that compelled obedience without being harsh. When Myra's hands fell away, he continued, You felt it when we kissed. Don't lie to yourself. That wasn't drugs or delusion. That was a mate bond snapping into place. Mate bond, Mira repeated flatly. You mean like soulmates? That's what you're claiming? That one kiss and suddenly we're cosmically connected. Not cosmically. Biologically. Supernaturally. Kieran leaned back against the seat, but tension radiated from every line of his body. I am the Alpha King of the Northern Packs. 7 territories, over 2,000 wolves answer to my authority. For 3 centuries, I've ruled without a mate, without a bond, which is nearly unheard of for an alpha of my bloodline. 3 centuries. He said it so casually, like he was discussing the weather. You're telling me you're 300 years old, Mira said. 347. The driver snorted. 348 next month, Your Majesty. Don't forget the birthday celebration the council is planning. Despite everything, despite the absolute insanity of this situation, Kieran's expression darkened with what looked like annoyance. There will be no celebration, Astrid. The council insists, the driver, Astrid, replied smoothly. You have a birthday party, Mira said, hysteria bubbling up in her chest. The ancient Alpha King werewolf has a birthday party. The scarred man in the front seat, who'd been scanning the mirrors constantly, actually chuckled. She's got spirit, sire. I like her. Marcus, Kieran said, warning in his tone. Just saying. Marcus's grin was visible in the rearview mirror. Better her than that viper Celeste the council keeps pushing on you. Kieran's jaw tightened, and Mira noticed the slight tick in his temple. There was a story there, tension that went beyond tonight's chaos. Who's Celeste? Mira asked, latching onto anything that might help her understand this nightmare. No one important, Kieran said tersely. The daughter of the Western Pack Alpha, Marcus corrected, ignoring his king's glare. Beautiful, powerful, politically connected, and absolutely convinced she's destined to be queen. She's not going to be happy about you, little human. I'm not happy about me either, Mira shot back. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted a fun night out with my friends. Her friends. Chelsea and Jenna. Oh God, my friends. Those wolves, they were after you specifically, Kieran interrupted. Your friends are safe. Annoying, perhaps, because they'll have witnessed something they shouldn't have, but my people will ensure their memories are appropriately clouded and they get home safely. You can control memories? Not me personally. But we have witches allied to the packs who can blur the edges of what humans saw. It's necessary for maintaining secrecy. Witches. Of course there were witches. Mira pressed her fingers to her temples, feeling the beginning of a migraine. I need you to take me home. Right now. I'll forget this ever happened, you'll forget you ever met me, and we can both go back to our lives. Impossible, Kieran said flatly. Why? He reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, and touched 2 fingers to the inside of her wrist. Mira gasped as warmth exploded from the contact point, racing up her arm, flooding her chest with a feeling that was equal parts terrifying and exhilarating. Her pulse hammered against his fingertips, and she saw his pupils dilate, his breathing deepen. That, he said roughly, pulling his hand away as if she'd burned him. That is why. The mate bond doesn't break, Mira. It doesn't fade. And now that it's been awakened, every supernatural creature with functioning senses can detect it. Can detect you. The Alpha King's mate is a prize beyond measure of vulnerability to exploit, a power to possess. We lost them, Astrid announced from the front, though she didn't slow down. Should I take us to the safe house or the estate? Kieran's eyes never left Myra's face. The estate. She needs to understand what she's stepped into, and she needs protection I can only guarantee on Pack lands. No, Mira said firmly. Take me home. I don't consent to being kidnapped. Those wolves that attacked the club? Marcus turned in his seat, his scarred face grave. They were from the Eastern Pack. Dissidents who believe the Alpha King has grown weak without a mate, without an heir. They'll use you to control Kieran, or they'll kill you to break him. Either way, your little apartment with your cat Pixel isn't safe anymore. Pixel. Her sweet, grumpy tabby who was probably wondering where his dinner was. I'll have someone retrieve your cat, Kieran said, reading her expression with unnerving accuracy. And anything else you need from your apartment. But you can't go back there. Not tonight. Maybe not for a long time. The weight of it crashed over Mira like a wave. Her life, her normal, boring, safe life, was gone. Destroyed by a single impulsive kiss. I want to wake up, she whispered. I want this to be a bad dream. Kieran's expression softened almost imperceptibly. I know, but it's not. And I'm sorry, Mira Torres. You deserve better than being dragged into our world. But now that you're here, I will protect you with everything I have. That's a promise. The SUV turned onto a private road, trees closing in on both sides, and Mira caught a glimpse of massive iron gates ahead, topped with symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the moonlight. Welcome, Astrid said dryly, to Silvercrest Estate, home of the Alpha King and the Northern Pack's seat of power. The gates swung open silently, and Myra's breath caught in her throat. She'd expected something dark and foreboding, maybe a gothic mansion straight out of a horror movie. Instead, Silvercrest Estate sprawled before her like something from a dream. The main house was a stunning blend of modern architecture and rustic elegance, all floor-to-ceiling windows and warm wood beams, lights glowing from within like amber jewels. Beyond it, she could see smaller buildings scattered across the property, connected by stone pathways that wound through manicured gardens even the darkness couldn't fully hide. It's beautiful, Mira admitted despite herself. It's home, Kieran said quietly, and something in his voice made her look at him. For the first time since the kiss, he looked almost vulnerable, watching her reaction to his territory with an intensity that suggested her opinion mattered more than it should. The SUV pulled up to the main entrance, where a small crowd had already gathered. Mira counted at least a dozen people, all of them radiating that same otherworldly quality Kieran possessed. Beautiful, powerful, and clearly not entirely human. Word travels fast, Marcus muttered, opening his door. The whole pack probably knows by now. Knows what? Mira asked, though dread was already pooling in her stomach. Kieran's hand found hers, and this time she didn't pull away, too overwhelmed by everything else to fight the strange comfort his touch provided. That their king finally found his mate. He stepped out of the vehicle and pulled Mira with him, and immediately, the assembled crowd dropped to one knee. Every single person, from a teenager who couldn't be older than 16 to a gray-haired man who looked like he'd seen countless winters, bowed before them. Rise, Kieran commanded, his voice taking on a resonance that Mira felt in her bones. Authority. Power. This was what an Alpha King sounded like. They stood as one, and Mira found herself being scrutinized by dozens of pairs of eyes. Some amber, some green, some blue, but all sharp, assessing, predatory. This is Mira Torres, Kieran announced, his hand tightening protectively around hers. My mate. She is under my protection, which means she is under the protection of this entire pack. Any threat to her is a threat to me. Is that understood? A chorus of yes, Alpha King rippled through the crowd, but Mira didn't miss the shocked expressions. the whispered conversations already starting at the edges of the group. An older woman stepped forward, her silver hair twisted into an elegant knot. She wore flowing robes in deep purple, and her eyes were the most unusual Mira had seen yet, completely violet and glowing faintly. Your Majesty, with respect, the council should have been consulted before. Before what, Morgana? Kieran's voice dropped to a dangerous purr. Before I claimed my mate? The bond chooses, not the council. Or have you forgotten the old laws? The woman, Morgana, dipped her head. Of course not, sire. But she's human. Untrained. Unprotected. The transition will be difficult, and there are already rumors spreading among the other packs. The Eastern dissidents are being hunted as we speak, Kieran interrupted. Spread the word. Anyone who threatens my mate answers to me personally. The threat hung in the air, cold and absolute, and Mira saw several people actually shiver. Come, Kieran said to Mira, his voice gentling as he turned back to her. You need rest, and we need to talk privately. He led her through the crowd, which parted like water, and into the main house. The interior was even more breathtaking than the exterior. Soaring ceilings with exposed beams, a massive stone fireplace that could fit 3 people standing upright, furniture that managed to be both luxurious and comfortable. Everything spoke of wealth, but also of warmth of a home lived in and loved. They climbed a curved staircase to the second floor, walked down a hallway lined with portraits of stern-looking people who all had Kieran's eyes, and finally entered a set of double doors. The room beyond was clearly Kieran's personal space. Masculine but not cold, with dark wood furniture, a bed large enough to sleep 4 people, and windows that overlooked the forest stretching endlessly behind the estate. Mira stood in the center of the room, her arms wrapped around herself. I need answers. Real ones. Starting with what exactly happened when I kissed you. Kieran moved to a sideboard and poured 2 glasses of amber liquid. He offered one to Mira, who took it automatically. Whiskey. It'll help with the shock. She sipped it, and the burn was oddly grounding. Answers, Kieran. He drank his own whiskey in one swallow, then set the glass down with deliberate care. Werewolves have fated mates. Not all of us find them. Some go their entire lives without that bond, but when it happens, it's instantaneous and irreversible. The moment our lips touched, something in your DNA recognized something in mine, and vice versa. The bond formed. But I'm human, Mira protested. How can I be your fated mate if I'm not even the same species? It's rare, but not unheard of. Some of the strongest pack leaders in history had human mates. Kieran ran a hand through his dark hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. I should have sensed you earlier. Should have caught your scent before you got close. But you surprised me. Your scent. Mira wrinkled her nose. I showered this morning, thank you very much. Despite everything, Kieran's lips twitched. Not that kind of scent. To me, you smell like moonflowers and summer rain. Intoxicating. Impossible to ignore now that I know what you are to me. Heat crept up Myra's neck. So what happens now? Do I become a werewolf too? Is that how this works? No. The mate bond doesn't change your species. You'll remain human, though over time, you'll develop some resistance to aging, some enhanced healing from our bond. But you won't shift. You won't become one of us. Then why do they want me? Those wolves who attacked, why am I so valuable? Kieran's expression went dark. Because you're my weakness. For 3 centuries, I've been untouchable. No family to threaten, no mate to use as leverage. I ruled fairly, but without emotional compromise. Now, he looked at her, and the raw honesty in his eyes made her breath catch. Now I would burn the world to keep you safe. A knock at the door interrupted them. Marcus entered without waiting for permission, his face grim. We have a problem, sire. Celeste Ravencroft just arrived at the gates with her father and half the Western pack. She's demanding an audience. Kieran's curse was creative and in a language Mira didn't recognize. She found out already? The Eastern dissidents weren't exactly subtle in their attack. Every pack from here to the Canadian border knows you have a mate by now. Marcus's eyes flicked to Mira with something like sympathy. And Celeste is not taking it well. Who exactly is this Celeste? Mira demanded, tired of being in the dark. My problem to handle, Kieran said shortly. Marcus, tell them I'll meet with Alpha Ravencroft in the morning. Alone. Celeste is not invited. She won't accept that. I don't care what she accepts. This is my territory, my pack, my rules. Marcus nodded and left, but the tension in the room had ratcheted up tenfold. Mira set down her whiskey glass with a sharp click. You need to tell me about her. If she's going to be a threat to me, I deserve to know. Kieran sighed, looking suddenly tired despite his supernatural vitality. Celeste Ravencroft is the daughter of the Western Pax Alpha. She's powerful, ambitious, and the Council has been pushing for a political alliance between our packs for decades. Marriage between us would unite the two largest territories in North America. And you were considering it, Mira said, reading between the lines. I was being pressured into it, Kieran corrected. There's a difference. I never wanted Celeste. Never felt anything beyond political respect for her father. But the Council believes an Alpha King needs a mate, needs heirs, and Celeste fit their requirements. But I don't, Mira said quietly. Kieran crossed the room in 3 strides, his hands coming up to frame her face with devastating gentleness. You are everything they didn't know I needed. Everything I didn't know I was waiting for. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, and Myra's eyes fluttered closed involuntarily. The bond hummed between them, that inexplicable pull that made her want to lean into him, to trust him, to accept this impossible situation. This is crazy, she whispered. I know. I should be terrified. You should be. But I'm not. Mira opened her eyes, finding Kieran's face inches from hers. Why am I not running screaming? The bond, Kieran said softly. It recognizes what your mind is still trying to process. We're meant for each other, Mira. Fate, destiny, biology, whatever you want to call it. That kiss didn't just awaken the bond. It sealed both our fates. A howl echoed in the distance, long and mournful, and was answered by dozens more. The pack, singing to the moon, welcoming their new queen. Myra's hands fisted in Kieran's shirt. I'm not ready for this. Neither am I, he admitted, his forehead resting against hers. But ready or not, here we are. And outside, beyond the safety of Silvercrest's walls, Mira could have sworn she heard a woman's scream of rage cutting through the night. Celeste had arrived. Morning arrived too quickly. Mira woke in an unfamiliar bed, wrapped in sheets that smelled like pine and something wild, something distinctly Kieran. For one blissful moment, she thought the previous night had been a vivid dream brought on by too many cocktails. Then she opened her eyes and saw the forest stretching endlessly beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, and reality crashed back in. Werewolves. Mate bonds. An Alpha King who looked at her like she was both his salvation and his doom. A soft knock at the door made her sit up, clutching the sheets to her chest. She was still wearing last night's club outfit, a sequin top and jeans that now felt ridiculous in the morning light. Come in, Mira called, her voice rough with sleep. A young woman entered, carrying a tray laden with coffee, fruit, and pastries. She had kind brown eyes and a warm smile that immediately put Mira at ease. Good morning, Miss Torres. I'm Elena, one of the house staff. The Alpha King thought you might be hungry. Elena set the tray on the bedside table, then gestured to a garment bag hanging on the closet door. I also took the liberty of bringing you some clothes. We're about the same size, and I thought you might want to change. Thank you, Mira said, genuinely grateful. That's really kind of you. Elena's smile widened. It's an honor, truly. The pack has been hoping the Alpha King would find his mate for so long. You have no idea how much joy your arrival brings. Mira wasn't sure about that, but she appreciated the sentiment. Can I ask you something? Of course. Kieran mentioned someone named Celeste arrived last night. How bad is this going to be? Elena's expression flickered, a shadow passing over her features. Celeste Ravencroft is complicated. She's beautiful, powerful, and she's wanted to be queen for as long as I've been alive. But she's not the Alpha King's mate. You are. That's all that matters in our world. But she's not going to see it that way, is she? No, Elena admitted quietly. She's not. After Elena left, Mira showered in the enormous marble bathroom, then examined the clothes that had been provided. Soft jeans, a cream-colored sweater, and boots that fit perfectly. She dressed quickly, braided her damp hair, and forced herself to eat something despite her churning stomach. She was just finishing her coffee when another knock sounded, firmer this time. Mira? Kieran's voice came through the door. May I come in? Her heart did a stupid little flip at just the sound of his voice. Yes. He entered, and Myra's breath caught. In the chaos of last night, she hadn't fully appreciated how devastating this man was. In the morning light, dressed in dark jeans and a charcoal Henley that showcased his muscular frame, he was almost painfully handsome. But it was his eyes that held her, amber and intense and fixed on her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "How did you sleep?" he asked. "Like someone whose entire worldview was shattered in a single night," Mira replied. "So, not great." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Fair enough. I need to meet with Alpha Ravencroft this morning. It's unavoidable. But I want you to stay in the main house, preferably with Marcus or Astrid nearby." "Because of Celeste?" Kieran's joy tightened. "Because you're new to this world and vulnerable. There are protocols, hierarchies, dangers you don't understand yet. Until you do, I need to know you're protected." "I'm not a China doll, Kieran. I can take care of myself." "Against a human threat?" "Absolutely. I don't doubt your capability." He moved closer, and that electric awareness sparked between them again. "But Celeste is a full-blooded werewolf from one of the most powerful bloodlines in existence. If she decides she wants to hurt you, you won't see her coming." The blunt honesty was almost refreshing. "So, what am I supposed to do? Hide in this room forever?" "No. But today, while I handle political fires, I need you safe. Please, Mira." His hand came up to cup her cheek, and she leaned into the touch before she could stop herself. "I'm asking, not commanding." The distinction mattered, and they both knew it. Mira sighed. "Fine. But I want to explore this place later. And I want my cat." "You promised." "Already being handled. Astrid sent someone to your apartment this morning. Pixel will be here by noon, along with some of your personal belongings." Despite everything, Mira felt a rush of affection for this impossible man who remembered her cat's name. "Thank you." Kieran's thumb brushed across her lower lip, and heat flooded Myra's body. The mate bond pulsed between them, stronger in the daylight, more insistent. She saw the struggle in his eyes, the desire warring with restraint. "I should go," he said roughly, but didn't move. "Yes," Mira agreed, but didn't step back. They stood there, frozen in the moment, the air thick with tension and possibility. Then Kieran's phone buzzed, shattering the spell. He checked the screen and cursed. "They're here. I have to go," Mira finished. "I understand." He left reluctantly, and Mira pressed her fingers to her lips, still feeling the ghost of yesterday's kiss. An hour later, Mira was exploring the main floor of the house with Marcus as her silent shadow, when raised voices echoed from somewhere nearby. "You expect me to accept this?" A woman's voice rang out, crystal clear and dripping with disdain. "A human? She's not even one of us, Kieran." Mira froze, and Marcus's hand came to rest on her shoulder, steadying. "My mate is none of your concern, Celeste," Kieran's voice replied, cold and formal. "This meeting is with your father, not you. Everything about you is my concern. We had an understanding." "We had nothing. Your father's political ambitions are not my responsibility." Mira couldn't help herself. She moved toward the voices, Marcus trailing behind her with a muttered curse. They rounded a corner and found themselves looking into a formal sitting room through partially open doors. Kieran stood near the fireplace, his posture rigid. Across from him was an older man with silver hair and sharp features, clearly Alpha Ravencroft. And beside him stood the most beautiful woman Mira had ever seen. Celeste Ravencroft was tall and willowy, with cascading black hair and eyes the color of ice. She wore a designer dress that probably cost more than Myra's monthly salary, and she radiated confidence and barely contained fury. "You think some little human can give you what I can?" Celeste hissed. "Power? Alliances? Are strong enough to lead the packs?" "I think," Kieran said dangerously, "that you're overstepping badly." That's when Celeste's eyes found Mira standing in the hallway. The hatred in that gaze was so pure, so visceral, that Mira actually stepped back. Celeste's lips curved into a cruel smile. So this is her. The little human who kissed the Alpha King on a dare. She'd clearly heard the whole story. How quaint. Celeste enough, Alpha Ravencroft warned, but his daughter ignored him. She moved with supernatural speed, crossing the room in a blur, and suddenly she was in the hallway, circling Mira like a predator studying prey. "You have no idea what you've stepped into, do you, little girl?" Celeste purred. "The politics, the dangers, the expectations. You'll be dead within a month, or you'll run screaming back to your pathetic human life." "Back off," Marcus growled, stepping between them. But Mira put a hand on his arm, gently moving him aside. Something in her refused to cower, refused to show weakness to this woman who thought she could intimidate her. "You're right," Mira said calmly, meeting Celeste's icy gaze. "I don't know your world. I don't understand the politics or the hierarchies or any of it. But I'm a fast learner and I don't run from challenges. Celeste laughed, the sound like breaking glass. How adorable. She has spirit. Her voice dropped to a whisper only Mira could hear. It won't be enough. I've spent decades preparing to be queen. You're just a distraction, a temporary obstacle. And obstacles can be removed. Is that a threat? Mira asked quietly. It's a promise. Celeste. Kieran's roar shook the hallway. He was there in an instant, physically putting himself between Mira and Celeste, his eyes blazing silver. Touch her, threaten her again, and I don't care who your father is. You will answer to me, and I will not be merciful. The power rolling off him made the air crackle. Mira felt it against her skin, saw the lights flicker overhead, watched as even Celeste took an involuntary step backward. She started it, Celeste said, but her confidence had cracked. No, Kieran said softly, dangerously. You started it the moment you disrespected my maid in my home. This meeting is over. You and your father will leave Silvercrest immediately. Alpha Ravencroft appeared, his face thunderous. Kieran, let's not be hasty. We can still leave. Now. The finality in Kieran's voice left no room for argument. Alpha Ravencroft grabbed his daughter's arm and practically dragged her toward the exit, but not before Celeste threw one last venomous look at Mira. This isn't over, she mouthed. Then they were gone, and Kieran turned to Mira, his hands framing her face, checking for injuries even though Celeste hadn't touched her. Are you all right? Did she hurt you? I'm fine, Mira assured him, though her heart was racing. She just wanted to scare me. She succeeded in making me want to rip her throat out, Kieran muttered darkly. Myra's hands came up to cover his. Hey, I'm okay. I can handle mean girls, even supernatural ones. Kieran's forehead dropped to rest against hers, his breathing ragged. You shouldn't have to. You should be safe, protected, cherished. Not threatened in your own home. Your own home. The words settled over Mira with strange warmth. Is that what this is now? She asked softly. My home. Kieran pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. If you want it to be. I know this is fast, I know it's overwhelming, but... It is, Mira interrupted. It's terrifying and impossible and completely insane. But... She smiled despite herself. But I'm still here, aren't I? 3 days passed in a blur of strange normalcy. Mira met more pack members, learned the layout of Silvercrest Estate, and was reunited with Pixel, who immediately claimed Kieran's favorite armchair as his throne. She video-called her friends, who remembered nothing of the wolf attack, but were dying to know about the gorgeous guy she'd disappeared with. She lied, said he was just a fling, and hated how easily the deception came. But the mate bond grew stronger each day. Every accidental touch sent sparks racing across her skin. Every time Kieran looked at her, she felt it in her bones, a pull that was becoming impossible to ignore. Tonight, Kieran had insisted on dinner, just the two of them, in a private dining room overlooking the forest. Candles flickered on the table, and the food was incredible, but Mira barely tasted it. She was too aware of Kieran across from her, watching her with those amber eyes that seemed to see straight through every defense she'd built. You're staring, Mira said, taking a sip of wine to cover her nerves. I'm memorizing, Kieran corrected. The way candlelight catches in your hair. The little crease between your eyebrows when you're thinking. The exact shade of your eyes, brown with flecks of gold I never noticed before. Heat crept up Myra's neck. That's very poetic for a 300-year-old werewolf king. I've had a long time to learn how to appreciate beauty when I find it. He set down his fork, his expression growing serious. Mira, we need to talk about the future. About what happens next. Her stomach tightened. That sounds ominous. The Pack Council is demanding a formal introduction ceremony. They want to present you to the other packs, make the mate bond official in the eyes of supernatural society. Like a wedding? More like a coronation. You'd become Luna, the Alpha King's mate, with all the responsibilities and protections that title carries. Myra's fingers tightened around her wine glass. And if I say no? Pain flickered across Kieran's face. Then the bond remains incomplete. We'd both feel it, a constant ache, a need that can never be fully satisfied. And you'd remain vulnerable. Without the official bond, you're not fully under pack protection. Someone like Celeste could challenge you, hurt you, and I'd have limited legal recourse under pack law. So it's not really a choice. It's always a choice, Mira. I won't force you into anything. Kieran stood, moving around the table to crouch beside her chair. But I want you to know what you mean to me. These 3 days with you have been unexpected. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You see me, not the Alpha King, not the ancient werewolf, but me. Kieran. The man who still doesn't know how to work half the technology in this house, who burns coffee every morning, who's been alone for so long he forgot what it felt like to want someone by his side. Myra's hand came up to touch his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. I'm scared, she admitted. Of this bond, of your world, of losing myself in all of it. I know. I'm scared too. Kieran turned his head to press a kiss to her palm. But I promise you, Mira Torres, I will spend every day proving that you made the right choice in staying. The sincerity in his voice broke something open in Myra's chest. She leaned down, bringing her lips to his, and the kiss was different from the first one. Slower, deeper, filled with promise instead of surprise. Kieran groaned against her mouth, his hands coming up to tangle in her hair, and Mira felt the mate bond flare between them, bright and hot and absolutely undeniable. They were so lost in each other that neither heard the dining room door open. How touching, a cold voice said. They broke apart to find Morgana, the violet-eyed council member, standing in the doorway with 2 other people Mira didn't recognize. Their expressions were grim, and Morgana held what looked like an ancient leather-bound book. Kieran rose to his feet, placing himself protectively in front of Mira. Morgana, this is a private dinner. Whatever the council wants can wait until tomorrow. I'm afraid it can't, Your Majesty. Morgana's voice was heavy with something that sounded like regret. We've discovered something in the old texts, something that changes everything. Mira felt ice forming in her veins. What is it? Morgana opened the book, her fingers tracing lines of text that seemed to glow faintly. There's a prophecy written over 1,000 years ago. It speaks of an Alpha King who will form a bond with a human woman, a bond that will either unite the supernatural world or destroy it entirely. Prophecies are notoriously unreliable, Kieran said dismissively, but Mira heard the tension in his voice. This one has been accurate in every other prediction it made, one of the other council members interjected. The fall of the Shadow Pack, the rise of the Western Territories, even your own birth was foretold in these pages. Morgana continued reading. When silver eyes meet mortal soul, and fate is sealed with passion's fire, the old world shall tremble and the ancient enemy shall rise. The king's mate shall be the key to either salvation or extinction. Ancient enemy? Mira whispered. What ancient enemy? Kieran's hand found hers, gripping tightly. It's just a story, a myth meant to scare children. Is it? Morgana's violet eyes fixed on Kieran with uncomfortable intensity. Then explained the reports coming in from the northern border. Entire packs disappearing overnight. Territories going silent. And the symbol found painted in blood at every scene. She turned the book around, showing them an image that made Kieran go absolutely still. It was a circle with a wolf's head in the center, but the wolf's eyes were hollow, empty, wrong. Around the circle were runes that seemed to writhe on the page. The Voidwalkers, Kieran breathed, and for the first time since Mira met him, she heard genuine fear in his voice. That's impossible. They were destroyed, banished beyond the veil centuries ago. Apparently not. Morgana closed the book with a heavy thud. The prophecy states that when the Alpha King finds his true mate, the seal holding the Voidwalkers weakens. Your bond with Mira didn't just awaken your connection to each other. It awakened them. Mira felt the room spin. Are you saying that because I kissed Kieran, I released some kind of ancient evil? Not released. Awakened. The seal still holds, but it's cracking. The Voidwalkers are testing it, probing for weaknesses. The third council member, an elderly man with scars crisscrossing his face, spoke for the first time. We have perhaps weeks, maybe less, before they break through completely. And when they do? Mira asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. They'll consume everything, Kieran said flatly. Voidwalkers don't just kill. They erase. They devour souls, memories, entire bloodlines until nothing remains but emptiness. They nearly destroyed the supernatural world once before. It took the combined power of every pack, every coven, every supernatural being in existence to seal them away. And even then, hundreds of thousands died. Mira pulled her hand from Kieran's, stumbling backward. No, this can't be happening. I'm just a graphic designer from Seattle. I can't be responsible for the end of the world. You're not responsible, Kieran said urgently, reaching for her. This isn't your fault. The prophecy was set in motion long before you were born. But I'm the trigger. If I hadn't kissed you, if I hadn't accepted this bond, then I would have lived another 300 years alone and empty, and eventually, the Voidwalkers would have found another way to break free. This was always going to happen, Mira. The prophecy made sure of it. Morgana stepped forward, her expression softening slightly. There's more to the prophecy, child. The part about destruction is only half of it. The other half speaks of salvation. It says that the king's mate, if she accepts her destiny fully, will possess a power that can permanently seal the Voidwalkers away. Not just contain them, but destroy them forever. What kind of power? Mira demanded. I'm human. I can't even defend myself against someone like Celeste, let alone ancient soul-eating monsters. The prophecy doesn't say. Only that the power lies dormant until awakened by true acceptance of the mate bond. Morgana's eyes flicked between Mira and Kieran. The ceremony we mentioned, the official bonding, it's not just political anymore. It may be the only way to unlock whatever ability you possess. Kieran was shaking his head. Absolutely not. I won't risk Myra's life based on a 1,000-year-old maybe. We'll find another way to stop the Voidwalkers. There is no other way, the scarred council member said bluntly. Every other method was tried before. The seal was always temporary. This is the only permanent solution the prophecy offers. Myra's mind reeled. In the space of 5 minutes, she'd gone from a candlelit dinner with a man she was falling for to being told she was the potential savior or destroyer of an entire world. I need air, she said faintly. I need to think. She pushed past the council members and fled the dining room, her footsteps echoing through the halls of Silvercrest. She heard Kieran calling after her, but she couldn't stop, not until she burst through a side door and into the cool night air. The forest beckoned, dark and endless, and Mira ran toward it without thinking. She needed space, needed silence, needed to escape the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her chest. She was 20 feet into the trees when she heard it. A low, wet growl that raised every hair on the back of her neck. Mira spun around and found herself face to face with something that shouldn't exist. It was vaguely wolf-shaped, but wrong, so wrong. Its fur seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and where its eyes should be were just empty, hollow voids that pulled at her vision. A Voidwalker. It had already found her. The creature lunged, and Mira screamed. The Voidwalker's claws sliced through the air where Myra's throat had been a heartbeat before. She threw herself sideways, hitting the ground hard, pain exploding through her shoulder. The creature landed where she'd been standing, its body seeming to flicker and phase, like reality couldn't quite hold it. Mira scrambled backward, her hands scraping against roots and stones. The thing turned toward her, and those hollow eyes fixed on her face. She felt it then, a pulling sensation, like something was trying to reach inside her chest and rip out everything that made her who she was. Then a massive silver wolf crashed into the Voidwalker from the side, driving it away from Mira with a snarl that shook the trees. Kieran. Even in wolf form, she recognized him. The same amber eyes, now blazing with protective fury. He was magnificent and terrifying, easily twice the size of a normal wolf, his fur shimmering like moonlight on water. The Voidwalker recovered quickly, lunging at Kieran with supernatural speed. They collided in a tangle of claws and teeth, and Mira watched in horror as the creature's touch left patches of darkness on Kieran's silver fur, spreading like rot. More wolves burst from the trees. Marcus in his scarred brown form, Astrid as a sleek golden wolf, and a dozen others Mira didn't recognize. They surrounded the Voidwalker, attacking in coordinated strikes, but each time they made contact, that same spreading darkness infected their fur. Get back! Morgana appeared beside Mira, pulling her to her feet. The witch's hands glowed with violet light, and she thrust them forward, sending a bolt of energy at the Voidwalker. The creature shrieked, a sound that made Myra's ears ring, and began to dissolve into shadows. But before it vanished completely, it spoke. Its voice was like wine through a graveyard, empty and cold. The king's mate. We taste her soul. So bright. So delicious. We are coming for her. We are coming for all of you. Then it was gone, leaving only scorched earth where it had stood. Kieran shifted back to human form, naked and bleeding from a dozen wounds that leaked black instead of red. He staggered toward Mira, his eyes wild with fear and rage. Are you hurt? Did it touch you? His hands ran over her arms, her face checking for injuries. I'm fine, but you're not. You're bleeding, that black stuff. Void poison, Morgana said grimly, already moving toward Kieran. It feeds on life force. We need to get him inside, now. The next hour was a nightmare. Kieran was taken to what Mira learned was the pack's medical wing, where Morgana and 2 other witches worked to draw the poison from his wounds. His screams echoed through the halls, and each one felt like a knife twisting in Myra's heart. She waited outside, pacing, her hands still shaking from the attack. Marcus stood guard beside her, back in human form, his face grave. This is my fault, Mira said for the 100th time. If I hadn't run into the forest. It was hunting you specifically, Marcus interrupted. It would have found a way to get to you eventually. At least this way, Kieran was close enough to intervene. He's dying because of me. He's fighting because of you. There's a difference. Marcus's scarred face softened. I've served Kieran for over a century, Mira. I've never seen him care about anything the way he cares about you. That's worth fighting for. Finally, Morgana emerged, exhaustion evident in every line of her face. He'll survive. The poison is purged, but he's weak. He needs rest and time to heal. Can I see him? Mira asked immediately. Morgana hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. No more. His body needs to recover. Mira slipped into the medical room. Kieran lay on a bed that looked too small for his frame, his chest wrapped in bandages that glowed faintly with magical symbols. His skin was pale, his breathing shallow, but his eyes opened when she approached. Mira, he rasped. You're safe. Because of you. She took his hand carefully, avoiding the bandages on his arms. You almost died, Kieran. Worth it. His fingers tightened around hers with what little strength he had. Always worth it to keep you safe. Tears burned Myra's eyes. This is too much. The prophecy, the void walkers, watching you suffer because of me. I can't. Don't. Kieran's voice gained strength, his eyes blazing despite his weakened state. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Don't you dare think about leaving. People are going to die because of me. You almost died. People will die if you leave, Kieran countered. The void walkers are awake now. Running won't change that. Rejecting the bond won't change that. The only way forward is through, together. Morgana appeared in the doorway. Time's up. He needs to rest. Mira leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to Kieran's forehead. I'll be back, she promised. But as she left the medical wing, her resolve was crumbling. Everyone she cared about was in danger because of her. The entire supernatural world was threatened because she'd accepted a dare, kissed a stranger, awakened a bond she didn't understand. She found herself back in Kieran's room, staring at Pixel, who purred contentedly in a patch of moonlight, blissfully unaware of the chaos surrounding them. A knock at the door made her turn. Astrid entered, her expression troubled. There's someone here to see you. She claims she has information about the Void Walkers and the prophecy. Who? Astrid's joy tightened. Celeste Ravencroft. Every instinct screamed at Mira to refuse, but desperation made her nod. Bring her up. Minutes later, Celeste swept into the room, looking immaculate as always despite the late hour. But there was something different in her eyes, something that almost looked like genuine concern. I heard about the attack, Celeste said without preamble. Is Kieran? He'll live, Mira said coldly. What do you want, Celeste? To help. At Myra's incredulous look, Celeste continued, I may hate you for taking what I believed was mine, but I love this world. I don't want to see it devoured by void walkers any more than you do. So, Celeste pulled out a small, ancient-looking scroll. My father has connections to the oldest vampire covens. They have records that predate even the werewolf packs. I found this in their archives. It's another part of the prophecy, one the council either doesn't know about or chose not to share. She unrolled the scroll, revealing text in a language Mira didn't recognize. But Celeste read it aloud, translating as she went. The king's mate shall hold the power to seal the darkness, but only through sacrifice. To awaken her true strength, she must sever the bond that gives her power. Love must be destroyed to save the world. The mate must die, or the mate must be forsaken. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. No, Mira whispered. That can't be right. It's right, Celeste said, and for once, there was no triumph in her voice, only sadness. The prophecy demands a choice. Either you die, giving your life force to power the seal, or Kieran must reject the mate bond completely, severing your connection forever. Either way, you lose each other. Myra's legs gave out, and she sank onto the bed. There has to be another way. If there is, I haven't found it. And I've been looking for 3 days, ever since the Void Walker sighting started. Celeste moved to the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. I thought I'd be happy learning this. Thought it meant I still had a chance with Kieran. But seeing his face when they brought him in tonight, seeing how broken he was at the thought of losing you. She turned, meeting Myra's eyes. He loves you. Really loves you. And as much as I hate to admit it, you love him too. I barely know him, Mira protested weakly. The bond knows. Your soul knows. Time is irrelevant when you've found your other half. Celeste's smile was bitter. I've spent decades wanting what you found in a single kiss. So I'm going to give you a piece of advice, human too, well, human. Don't tell Kieran about this part of the prophecy. Not yet. Why not? Because he'll try to find a loophole, a way to save both you and the world. He'll exhaust himself, put himself in danger, and ultimately, he'll fail. The prophecy is absolute. I've seen enough of them come true to know. Celeste moved toward the door, pausing at the threshold. You have maybe a week before the Void Walkers break through completely. Use that time to be with him, to know him, to love him. Then make your choice. Death or separation. Either way, it ends in heartbreak. She left, and Mira sat alone in the moonlight, pixel purring against her leg, the weight of impossible choices crushing her chest. She could tell Kieran the truth, watch him destroy himself trying to save her. Or she could keep the secret, love him fully for whatever time they had left, and then make the sacrifice alone. Either way, Celeste was right. It ended in heartbreak. Mira pulled out her phone, looking at the photos from that night at the club. Chelsea and Jenna, laughing and carefree, unaware their dare would lead to this. Her old life, her normal life, forever out of reach now. She typed out a text to her friends. I'm okay. Taking some time away. Don't worry about me. I love you both. Then she turned off her phone, shutting out that world completely. If she only had a week left with Kieran, she wasn't going to waste a single moment. Mira didn't sleep that night. She sat in the chair beside Kieran's bed, watching him breathe, memorizing the strong lines of his face, the way his dark hair fell across his forehead, the slight furrow between his brows even in sleep. Every detail felt precious now, weighted with the knowledge that their time was finite. When dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Kieran's eyes fluttered open. He found her immediately, and a slow smile curved his lips. You stayed, he said, his voice rough but stronger than last night. Where else would I be? Mira moved to the bed, taking his hand carefully. I wouldn't have blamed you for running. Last night was terrifying. Kieran sat up slowly, wincing as his wounds pulled. The black veins had faded from his skin, leaving only pale scars. But I'm glad you're here. Mira made a decision in that moment. She wouldn't tell him about the prophecy's true cost. Not yet. Not when she still had time to be with him, to know him, to store up memories for the long, empty years ahead. Kieran, she said softly, I want to complete the bond. His eyes widened. Mira, you don't have to decide now. Especially not after last night's attack. You should take time to. I don't want time. I want you. The words came from somewhere deep inside her, true and fierce. I want this bond, this crazy impossible connection. I want to be your mate, your Luna, whatever that means. I choose this. I choose you. Kieran's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. You have no idea how long I've waited to hear those words. Then kiss me, Mira whispered. Kiss me like you mean it. He did. This kiss was different from all the others. It was promise and passion, desperation and devotion, a claiming that went soul deep. Mira felt the mate bond flare between them, brighter and stronger than ever before, and something inside her chest cracked open, flooding her with warmth and light and an overwhelming sense of rightness. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kieran pressed his forehead to hers. The ceremony can be arranged for tomorrow night if you're certain. The full moon will strengthen the bond, help you access whatever power the prophecy mentioned. Tomorrow night. Less than 2 days to prepare for either her death or eternal separation from the man she was falling hopelessly in love with. I'm certain, Mira said, and meant it. The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind. Elena helped Mira prepare, explaining the bonding ceremony's significance, while fitting her for a dress that took Myra's breath away. It was simple but stunning, white silk that flowed like water, with delicate silver embroidery that caught the light. "You'll be beautiful," Elena said warmly. "The Alpha King won't be able to take his eyes off you." Mira forced a smile, trying not to think about the scroll hidden in her room, the terrible choice waiting at the end of this fairy tale. That evening, Marcus found her on one of the estate's terraces, staring out at the forest as the sun set. "Cold feet?" he asked, joining her at the railing. "Frozen solid," Mira admitted. "But not about Kieran. About everything else. The Voidwalkers, the prophecy, the responsibility. Can I tell you something?" Marcus leaned against the railing, his scarred face thoughtful. "I've been with Kieran since he was barely more than a boy. Watched him grow into the Alpha King, watched him shoulder burdens that would have crushed lesser men. And in all those years, I've never seen him truly happy. Not until you." Myra's throat tightened. "Marcus, let me finish. Whatever happens with the Voidwalkers, whatever the prophecy demands, you've given him something priceless. Hope. Love. A reason to fight beyond duty. That matters, Mira. That changes everything." Before Mira could respond, a commotion erupted from inside the house. Raised voices, running footsteps, and then Astrid burst onto the terrace, her face pale. "They're here. The Voidwalkers. Hundreds of them, surrounding the estate's borders. They're not attacking yet, just waiting. Watching." Marcus cursed. "How did they get so close without triggering the wards?" "The wards are failing," Morgana's voice came from behind them. The witch looked exhausted, her violet eyes dim. "The seal is deteriorating faster than we predicted. We have hours, not days." Myra's world tilted. "But the ceremony is tomorrow night. We need more time. We don't have it." Morgana's gaze was sympathetic but firm. "The ceremony must happen tonight, during moonrise. It's our only chance to awaken your power before the Voidwalkers break through completely. Tonight." Myra's carefully hoarded time had just evaporated. Kieran appeared, dressed in formal black, his presence commanding despite the tension radiating from every line of his body. "Then we move the ceremony up. Alert the pack. Prepare the bonding circle. We do this now." The next 2 hours were chaos. The entire pack mobilized, creating a massive circle in the estate's central courtyard, marked with symbols that glowed with magical energy. Torches were lit, casting dancing shadows across ancient stones. Pack members gathered, their eyes reflecting the firelight, amber and green and blue all fixed on the circle's center where Mira and Kieran would complete their bond. Mira stood in Kieran's room, Elena making final adjustments to her dress, when a soft knock announced another visitor. Celeste entered, and Elena immediately tensed. "I'll give you privacy," Elena said reluctantly, shooting Celeste a warning look before leaving. "I didn't think you'd come," Mira said. "I shouldn't have." Celeste moved to the window, where the moon was just beginning to rise, huge and silver against the darkening sky. "But I needed to ask you something. Have you told him? About the sacrifice?" "No. Are you going to?" Myra's hands fisted in her dress. "I don't know. Maybe after the ceremony, when the bond is complete. Maybe never. He deserves to know. He deserves to not spend what might be our last hours together trying to save me from the inevitable." Mira turned to face Celeste fully. "Why do you care? You wanted me gone. This prophecy gives you exactly what you wanted." Celeste's laugh was hollow. "You'd think that, wouldn't you? But watching Kieran with you, seeing real love instead of political maneuvering." She shook her head. "I spent decades chasing something I thought I wanted. Turns out, I just wanted what you have. Someone who looks at me the way he looks at you. And knowing I'll never have that? It's made me realize how precious it is. How worth fighting for." "I am fighting," Mira said fiercely. "I'm completing this bond, awakening whatever power I have, and I'm going to find a way to save everyone without losing him. I have to believe that's possible. And if it's not?" Before Mira could answer, Kieran appeared in the doorway, his eyes finding Celeste with cold assessment. "What are you doing here?" "Wishing the bride luck," Celeste said smoothly. She moved past him, pausing to whisper something too low for Mira to hear. Kieran's expression darkened, but he didn't respond, just watched until Celeste disappeared down the hallway. Then he turned to Mira, and his face transformed, all the hardness melting into something tender and fierce. "You look breathtaking," he said, crossing the room to take her hands. "Like moonlight given form." Kieran, there's something I need to tell you. After, he interrupted gently. Whatever it is, it can wait until after we're bonded. Right now, I just want to focus on you, on us, on this moment. Can we do that? Mira looked into his amber eyes and saw her future there, bright and brief and absolutely worth whatever cost the prophecy demanded. Yes, she whispered. Let's do that. He led her down to the courtyard, where the entire pack waited under the rising moon. Morgana stood at the circle's center, her hands glowing with violet magic. Marcus and Astrid flanked the entrance, honor guards for their king. As Mira and Kieran stepped into the circle together, the symbols on the ground flared to life, bathing them in silver light. The pack began to howl, a chorus that rose to the heavens, wild and beautiful and ancient. Morgana's voice rang out, strong and clear. We gather under the full moon to witness the bonding of Alpha King Kieran Valiente and his chosen mate, Mira Torres. By blood and spirit, by earth and sky, by the old laws and the ancient ways, we sanctify this union. She produced a ceremonial blade, ornate and glowing with the same silver light as the symbols. Your blood, freely given, will seal the bond and awaken the power within. Kieran took the blade first, drawing it across his palm without hesitation. Blood welled, dark and rich, and he held his hand over a crystal bowl Morgana produced. Then he offered the blade to Mira. This was it. The point of no return. Mira took the blade, its weight heavy with significance, and met Kieran's eyes. Whatever happens, she said softly, know that I choose this. I choose you. Always. Something flickered in his expression, a question, a concern, but before he could speak, Mira drew the blade across her own palm. The moment her blood hit the bowl, mixing with Kieran's, the world exploded with light. The light that erupted from the crystal bowl was blinding, pure silver that shot skyward like a pillar connecting earth to heaven. Mira gasped as power flooded through her veins, burning and freezing simultaneously, rewriting something fundamental in her very cells. The mate bond snapped fully into place, and suddenly Mira could feel Kieran. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. His love crashed over her like a wave, so intense it drove her to her knees. His fear for her safety, his determination to protect her, his absolute devotion, it was all there, laid bare and beautiful. And he could feel her too. She saw it in his eyes as they went wide with shock. Mira, what? Then his expression crumpled with understanding and anguish. No, the sacrifice. You knew. You knew, and you didn't tell me. Through the bond, he'd felt her resignation, her acceptance of death or separation. The secret she'd been keeping shattered between them. I had to complete the bond first, Mira said, tears streaming down her face. I had to give you this, give us this before. The silver light suddenly turned dark. The temperature plummeted, and frost spread across the courtyard stones in spiraling patterns. The pack's howls cut off abruptly, replaced by growls of alarm. They were coming. The Voidwalkers materialized at the circle's edge, dozens of them, their hollow eyes fixed on Mira with hungry intensity. The estate's protective wards flared and died, unable to withstand the creature's assault. Protect the Luna. Marcus roared, and the pack shifted as one, wolves of every color forming a defensive ring around the bonding circle. But the Voidwalkers didn't attack. They simply stood there, watching, waiting. Then the largest one stepped forward. It was different from the others, more solid, more present. When it spoke, its voice echoed with the weight of millennia. The king's mate. The catalyst. The key. Its hollow eyes fixed on Mira. We have waited so long. Your bond weakened our prison. Your power will shatter it completely. Come to us, little light. Let us devour what you are and finally be free. Over my dead body, Kieran snarled, moving to stand between Mira and the creature. His eyes blazed silver and power radiated from him in waves. That can be arranged, the Voidwalker said. But it changes nothing. The prophecy is clear. The mate must sacrifice to seal us away, or we consume everything. Either way, we win. Either she dies powering the seal and we eventually break free again, or she refuses and we devour this world tonight. There's always a third option, Mira said, her voice stronger than she felt. She stepped out from behind Kieran, ignoring his growl of protest. The prophecy said I have the power to permanently seal you away. Not temporarily. Permanently. Through your death, the Voidwalker confirmed. Your life force, amplified by the mate bond, channeled into the seal. It would hold for eternity. But you would be gone and your Alpha King would be broken. We find that amusing. Myra's mind raced. There had to be something she was missing, some loophole in the prophecy. She thought back to Celeste's translation, to Morgana's original reading, to everything she'd learned about werewolf bonds. Then it hit her. You're wrong, Mira said slowly, pieces clicking into place. The prophecy doesn't demand my death. It demands sacrifice. Love destroyed to save the world. But you're thinking too literally. Kieran's hand found hers, and through the bond, she felt his confusion mixed with desperate hope. Mira turned to Morgana. The bond is complete now, right? I can access whatever power I have. Yes, but... And the bond connects me to Kieran, makes me part of the pack, part of this supernatural world? Yes, that's how mate bonds work, but I don't see. What if the sacrifice isn't death or separation? Mira interrupted, her heart pounding. What if it's transformation? What if I have to give up my humanity completely, destroy who I was to become something new? That's a kind of death. The death of my old self, my old life, everything I was before. Kieran's grip on her hand tightened. Mira, that's not possible. Humans can't be turned into werewolves through a mate bond. It doesn't work that way. But I'm not just human anymore, am I? Mira held up her free hand, and silver light flickered around her fingers, the same light that had erupted from the bonding bowl. I can feel it, Kieran. Power I never had before. The bond didn't just connect us. It's changing me, has been changing me since the moment we kissed. Morgana stepped closer, her violet eyes wide. She's right. Look at her aura. It's not fully human anymore. The bond has been transforming her gradually, but with the ceremony complete. The witch's voice filled with wonder. It could work. If she accepts the transformation fully, surrenders her humanity completely, the power released might be enough to permanently seal the Voidwalkers. And what would she become? Kieran demanded. Something new. Not quite werewolf, not quite human. Something the prophecy calls a Luna Ascendant. A being of pure bonded power. Morgana's expression was grave. But Kieran, you need to understand. If she does this, Mira Torres, the woman you met in that club, will cease to exist. Her memories will remain, but her fundamental nature will change. She'll be immortal like you, powerful like you, but she'll never be human again. Never have a normal life, never go back to her old world. Mira thought of her apartment, her job, her friends. Chelsea and Jenna, already becoming distant memories. Pixel, who'd adapted to a state life with typical feline indifference. Her parents, who died years ago, leaving her with no close family ties. What did she really have to go back to? I choose transformation, Mira said firmly. I choose to become what I need to be to save this world and stay with Kieran. No, Kieran said, anguish in his voice. Mira, you can't make this decision so quickly. This is your entire life, your humanity. Is already gone, Mira interrupted gently. Through the bond, she sent him everything she was feeling. Her love, her certainty, her peace with this choice. The moment I accepted this bond, my old life ended. I can't go back to designing graphics and pretending the supernatural world doesn't exist. I can't leave you. And I won't let the Voidwalkers destroy everything. This is the right choice. The only choice. Kieran's eyes glistened with unshed tears. You'll lose so much. I'll gain everything that matters. Mira cupped his face in her hands. I'll gain forever with you. I'll gain the power to protect the people I love. I'll gain a place in this world that feels more like home than anywhere I've ever been. That's not a sacrifice, Kieran. That's a gift. The lead Voidwalker laughed, the sound like wind through dead trees. Foolish child. The transformation will destroy you. Your human mind cannot withstand the flood of power required. You'll burn from the inside out. Then I'll burn bright, Mira said. She turned to Morgana. What do I need to do? Morgana looked to Kieran, who stood frozen, torn between protecting his mate and respecting her choice. Finally, he nodded, just once, and Mira saw the moment he accepted her decision through the bond. The full moon is at its peak, Morgana said. Stand in the circle's center. Open yourself to the bond completely, hold nothing back. The power will do the rest. Mira moved to the circle's heart, where the silver symbols glowed brightest. Kieran followed, taking her hands. If this goes wrong, he said roughly, if you start to fade, I'm pulling you back. I don't care about the prophecy or the world. I will not lose you. You won't, Mira promised. Trust the bond. Trust us. She closed her eyes and opened herself completely to the mate bond, dropping every defense, every wall, every shred of self-preservation. Power rushed in, enormous and overwhelming, Kieran's strength combining with something else, something ancient and primal that lived in the bond itself. Her body began to glow, silver light pouring from her skin. She heard Kieran gasp, felt his awe and terror through the bond, but she didn't stop. She surrendered everything, her humanity, her mortality, her old identity, letting it all burn away in the fire of transformation. And in that moment of complete vulnerability, Mira understood the prophecy's true meaning. Love destroyed to save the world wasn't about death or separation. It was about evolution. Two beings becoming one, their love so powerful it transformed them both into something greater than they could ever be alone. The light exploded outward, a shockwave of pure energy that swept across the courtyard. Where it touched the Voidwalkers, they shrieked and dissolved, not just banished but unmade, erased from existence as if they had never been. The wave kept expanding, racing across the estate, through the forest, across territories and continents, seeking every last Voidwalker and destroying them utterly. When the light finally faded, Mira stood in the circle, transformed. Her eyes glowed silver gold, a combination of her brown and Kieran's amber. Her hair seemed to shimmer with moonlight. Power radiated from her in waves, no longer human, no longer fully mortal, but something new and magnificent. A Luna Ascendant. She looked at Kieran, seeing him with new eyes, feeling him through a bond that was now unbreakable and eternal. "It's done," she said, her voice carrying harmonics it had never held before. "They're gone. All of them. Forever." And then Mira Torres, who had become so much more, pulled her Alpha King into her arms and kissed him as the pack erupted in joyous howls around them. The days following the transformation blurred together in a haze of wonder and adjustment. Mira woke each morning wrapped in Kieran's arms, the mate bond humming contentedly between them, stronger and more beautiful than she'd ever imagined possible. She was learning what it meant to be a Luna Ascendant, discovering new abilities almost daily. Enhanced strength, though nothing compared to a full werewolf. Heightened senses that made the world vivid and alive in ways her human perception had never captured. And an intuitive understanding of pack bonds, able to sense the emotions and needs of every wolf under Kieran's rule. But the best part, the part that made every sacrifice worth it, was the simple joy of being with Kieran without fear, without looming prophecies or ancient threats. Just them learning each other, building a life together. This morning, Mira stood on the terrace overlooking Silvercrest's gardens, a cup of coffee in her hands. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. She sensed Kieran before she heard him, the bond alerting her to his presence with a pleasant warmth. "You're up early," he said, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind." Mira leaned back into his embrace, marveling as she did every day that this was real, that he was hers. "The council meeting today. I'm nervous." "Don't be. They're going to love you." Kieran pressed a kiss to her temple. "You saved the entire supernatural world, Mira. You're a hero." "I'm a graphic designer from Seattle who got lucky with a dare," Mira corrected, but she was smiling. "You're a Luna Ascendant who faced down the Voidwalkers and won. You're my mate, my queen, and the strongest person I've ever known." Kieran turned her in his arms, his amber eyes warm with love. "And today, we're making it official. Presenting you to the council not as a human who stumbled into our world, but as the Luna you've become." The council meeting that afternoon was held in Silvercrest's Great Hall, a massive room with vaulted ceilings and walls lined with pack history. Representatives from every major territory had gathered, along with delegates from the vampire covens, witch circles, and other supernatural factions. Mira wore a dress Elena had commissioned specially for the occasion, silver and white with intricate embroidery that seemed to move in the light. Her hair was swept up, revealing the delicate mark that had appeared on her neck during the transformation, a silver wolf intertwined with a crescent moon. Kieran's matching mark, proof of their completed bond. As she entered the hall on Kieran's arm, the assembled crowd rose to their feet. The gesture of respect should have been intimidating, but through the bond, Mira felt Kieran's pride and support, and it steadied her. Morgana stepped forward, her violet eyes warm. Lords and ladies, representatives of all supernatural nations, we gather today to formally recognize Mira Torres Valiente as Luna Ascendant, mate to our Alpha King, and the savior who ended the Void Walker threat permanently. Applause erupted, genuine and enthusiastic. Mira caught sight of Marcus grinning proudly from his position near the door, and Astrid offered a subtle nod of approval. Then, from the back of the hall, a familiar figure approached. Celeste Ravencroft looked as beautiful as ever, but there was a softness in her expression that hadn't been there before. She stopped before Mira and, to everyone's shock, dropped into a formal bow. Luna Ascendant, Celeste said clearly. On behalf of the Western Pack, I offer our allegiance and gratitude. You have proven yourself worthy of the title and the Alpha King's devotion. I was wrong to challenge you, and I formally apologize. Mira felt Kieran's surprise through the bond, but she stepped forward and gently raised Celeste to standing. Thank you, Celeste. That means more than you know. I also wanted to tell you, Celeste said more quietly, that your transformation inspired me. I've spent so long chasing what I thought I should want that I forgot to discover what I actually need. I'm stepping back from pack politics. Going to travel, find myself, maybe find my own path instead of following my father's ambitions. That sounds like a wonderful plan, Mira said warmly. And when you find what you're looking for, you'll always have friends here at Silvercrest. Celeste's smile was genuine this time. Thank you, Luna. The formal presentations continued, but Myra's attention was caught by a commotion near the entrance. Elena appeared, slightly disheveled, carrying a very indignant Pixel in her arms. I'm so sorry, Luna, Elena said breathlessly. He escaped from your quarters and refused to be left behind. Laughter rippled through the hall as Pixel squirmed free and marched directly to Mira, meowing imperiously. She scooped up her cat, who immediately began purring, completely unconcerned by the roomful of supernatural predators watching him. Even your cat is fearless, Kieran murmured, scratching Pixel behind the ears. He takes after his mom, Marcus called out, and more laughter followed. As the formal proceedings concluded and the gathering transitioned into a celebration, Mira found herself surrounded by well-wishers. Pack members she'd come to know over the past weeks, supernatural leaders curious about the Luna Ascendant, even some of the younger wolves who looked at her with open admiration. But eventually, Kieran rescued her, pulling her onto the terrace for a moment of quiet. Overwhelmed, he asked, handing her a glass of champagne. Completely. But in the best way. Mira looked out at the forest, then back at the celebration inside. A month ago, I was designing logos and spending Friday nights at clubs. Now I'm the supernatural queen with magical powers and a 300-year-old husband. It's surreal. 348, Kieran corrected with a grin. And you're not just a queen, Mira. You're the heart of this pack, the future of our world. You've brought hope and change and a reminder that strength comes in many forms. I just did what felt right. Exactly. You followed your heart, even when it was terrifying. Even when it meant giving up everything familiar. Kieran set down his glass and pulled her close. You know what the best part of all this is? What? We have forever. No more prophecies hanging over us, no ancient threats waiting in the shadows. Just us, building a life together, leading the pack, making new traditions. He kissed her softly. Forever with you is going to be an incredible adventure. Mira thought about her transformation, about everything she'd lost and everything she'd gained. Her humanity was gone, but she'd found something infinitely more precious. Love that transcended species and time. A purpose that mattered. A family in the pack. And a partner who saw her, truly saw her, and loved every part of who she was becoming. You know what's funny? Mira said, looping her arms around Kieran's neck. Chelsea dared me to kiss you because she thought it would be a fun story. A harmless adventure for one night. And she was right. It was an adventure. Just a much bigger one than either of us anticipated. Mira laughed, joy bubbling up from somewhere deep inside. I should thank her. That dare changed my life. It changed both our lives, Kieran corrected. I was existing before you, Mira. Going through centuries on autopilot, ruling but not living. You woke me up. Made me remember what it feels like to hope, to love, to look forward to tomorrow. Through the bond, Mira felt the depth of his sincerity, the overwhelming love he had for her, and it still took her breath away. I love you, she said simply. For forever. I love you too, Kieran replied. For every day of that forever. They stood there on the terrace, wrapped in each other's arms, as the celebration continued inside. The full moon rose overhead, bathing Silvercrest in silver light, and somewhere in the forest, wolves howled their joy to the sky. Mira Torres had walked into a club on a dare and walked out forever changed. She'd kissed a stranger and awakened a destiny. She'd sacrificed her humanity and gained immortality. She'd faced down ancient evil and emerged victorious. But more than all of that, she'd found love. Real, powerful, eternal love that made every sacrifice worth it. And as Kieran swept her into a dance on the terrace, the music from the celebration drifting out to surround them, Mira knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged.